All right. So for
Yes, yes.
you said regarding consideration, you told, right? Yes,
Hmm.
this part is clear, right? There are these five different essential elements which we have. And after fulfilling all these five different essentials, also, we need to ensure that the contract is not something which is specifically declared as void. That part also we see. So we need to fulfill these five conditions, and after that, we need to ensure that the contract is not something which is specifically declared as void. So offer and acceptance we discussed, and also just like 1 or 2 days contract, right? If you have 2-3 days holiday, if you want me to discuss the cases one more time just for a refresh, to refresh the memory or something, you can let me know, we can discuss that part also.
Okay.
Yeah, so offer and acceptance we have all this, then offer and invitation to offer, conditions of a valid offer, intention to create legal relationship. All right, so now consideration or intention to create legal relationship. Now anything that you know about consideration, anything that was clear, or you want the entire topic? What consideration, if the question comes, what will you write?
Yes, yes. I know only privity of consideration, but I don't know the whole what consideration is as.
Okay. Now, see, take for example, there is a contract between you and me. Okay. You will not just randomly make contracts with any person, right? If you are not getting any benefit out of that contract, you will not make that contract simply, right? So, consideration is that only what are you getting in return of making the contract, right? You need to get something in return. Only then you will be interested in making the contract or entering into the contract, all right? Take for example, in our case only we will take, why are you attending the classes? Only because you want to understand some topics, you want to be able to answer in exam, right? So that is what is consideration. Why are you attending the classes? Just because you want some more clarity on certain topics, right? So that is what you are getting out of attending the classes. So what you are getting out of doing something, right? That is only consideration. So if you are taking admission in a college, all right, you are taking admission in KLE Society's Law College. Why are you taking admission there? Why are you paying the fees? Why are you writing exams or attending classes? It's only because you want the degree, right? So that degree is consideration for you, and whatever fees you are paying, that fees is consideration for KLE. So basically, consideration is what each of the parties are getting in return. All right, if you are getting uh, all right, so if you are getting a degree, that's consideration for you. And for the other college, right? For your college, what is consideration? For your college,
Hello,
yeah.
ma'am. I was not able to hear
Oh,
anything. Actually, I
yeah.
was.
Yeah, you got disconnected, I guess, right?
Yeah, I got disconnected. Yes.
Yeah. Suddenly I saw, why is it coming? You are trying to join, admit. I thought you were there.
Yeah. Yeah, you was talking about means our contract that why
Yeah.
I have joined.
Yeah. So why are you attending the classes? Maybe because you want some more clarity on certain topics, or maybe that you want to be able to write better in your exams, right? So if you are not getting anything out of attending the classes, you will not attend the classes, right? So what you are getting in return, that is what is consideration for you. All right, maybe you can take the example of your college only. Why have you taken admission in KLE Society's Law College? It's only because you want a degree, right? You want the LLB degree. That is the only reason why you are writing exams, attending classes, you took admission, and you are doing everything. All right. Why are you doing all of those things? Because you want the degree. So degree is consideration for you, and for KLE, what is consideration for them? The fees that you are paying to get admission for all these 3 years, that will be consideration for them. Basically, what are you getting in return of performing the contract? You will simply not go on performing things, right, if you are not getting anything out of it. So what you are getting out of it, that is only what is consideration. You will see many times there will be seminars that people will be organizing, seminars, webinars nowadays. Why people go and attend those webinars? Maybe I'm not even interested on a certain topic, but still I will go, I will join that webinar and then attend. Why? Maybe because they are providing a certificate as well. All right, certificate to all the participants. So in that case, that certificate is a consideration for me. Why am I attending the class webinar? Because I will be getting a certificate in return that I can mention in my CV. All right. So whatever you are getting in return, and it's basically that thing that you are getting in return which will motivate you to do, right? You will simply not go on studying contract, IPC, this, that, writing exams, submitting assignments, attending classes. You won't do all of those things if they say you are not going to get the degree. If you are not going to get the degree, will you do all of those things? You will not do, right? Why? Because your degree is the motivating factor. That you will get the degree after 3 years, that is what motivates you to do all of these things. Submitting assignments, writing exams, attending classes, whatsoever it is. All right. So that is what consideration is. In a contract also, both the parties should be getting something in return, because of which only they will perform the contract. And that is what is consideration. Is that part clear?
Yes, yes.
So see, intention to create legal relationship. I have an intention to create legal relationship. If you are taking admission in KLE, it's not simply you are going randomly just entering some classes, attending the classes. It's not like that. You want to make yourself liable. You are going to attend only first semester classes. You are submitting first semester assignments only, writing first semester exams only. Why? Because you are interested to complete the course and finally get the degree. So that is what is consideration. In any kind of contract also, both the parties will be getting something in return, and it's because of that only that they will be making the contract, all right, or they will be interested. So just remember, consideration is what you are getting in return. If you are not getting anything in return, you will not be attending the classes, you will not be going to your college, writing exams, right? Why are you writing exams? Only because of your degree. So that is what is consideration, what you are getting in return. All right. So for a contract also, you should be getting something in return, and it has to be something that law recognizes. All right. Like I gave an example, right? Maybe for your birthday, you just invited only one of your friends. All right. You just invited only one friend for dinner. Why? Because you thought that you will be enjoying your birthday with your friend, one friend only. But last moment, what happens is your friend calls you and says that I cannot come for dinner today. At that point of time, you may feel like, oh, it was my birthday, so does that mean I will have to have dinner alone or something like that? It might be a very big thing for you that on your birthday your friend refused to come for dinner. But will court recognize it? Court would not take attention in such small matters, right? So consideration has to be something that law recognizes also. All right, it's not just that parties are like you are getting something and so you can go to court. It's not like that. Consideration has to be something that court also would recognize, right? Court would also take that thing into matter and then decide the matter accordingly. Is that part clear?
Yes, yes.
Is my video on or off?
It's on, it's on.
On. Okay, okay. So that is what is consideration. All right. Now there is one case also that we will discuss, but before that, we will just see the definition. So it is section 2D of the Indian Contract Act that defines the word consideration. What is consideration? When at the desire of the promisor, the promisee or any other person. That means if I am making the promise at my desire, you or someone else on your behalf has done something, promises to do something, or does something, or abstains from doing. Basically, they may agree to do something or say that I will not do this thing, all right? Like to do or not to do something, they will make a promise. All the three tenses they have mentioned, present, past, and future. All right, maybe I can say that, okay, fine, I'm placing this order today and I will be making the payment tomorrow. Or, like give me these goods on credit, tomorrow I will be paying. That also would be a consideration. Or I may say that, okay, take money and give me goods. That is like present time only, right? Or I may say that, okay, fine, tomorrow you come, tomorrow you give me the goods, tomorrow I will make the payment. So it can be present, past, or future that I'm doing something, all right? And it can be you who is doing something, or someone else on your behalf also can do something. That is what is privity of consideration anyways, right? That you understood very clearly. That if you want to buy a two-wheeler, might be you do not have money with you, your parents can also pay for it. Your friend wants to gift you something, you can choose whatever you want to buy and your friend will pay on behalf of you. All of those are what? Privity of consideration. Right? It's not just you who will have to provide consideration, someone else can also provide that for you. Ultimately, you will be using that two-wheeler or a dress that your friend is gifting, but it may not be you who is making the payment. Someone else on your behalf can also make the payment. So what is consideration? At my desire, if I'm making the offer, at my desire, you or someone else has done something or has abstained from doing something or promises, or basically the three tenses. Such act or abstinence or promise is called consideration for the promise. So that particular thing, what you are doing, right, that is called as consideration for the promise. You may say that, okay, fine, I'm buying this two-wheeler and this is the money, all right, this is 80,000 rupees and I'm buying this two-wheeler. So 80,000 is consideration for one person and two-wheeler is consideration for you. Now 80,000 rupees may be paid by you or your friends, family, anyone who wants to gift you that two-wheeler. So that is section 2D of the Indian Contract Act, which defines the word consideration. Is the definition clear?
Yes, yes. Ma'am, does or abstains from doing means what?
See, the promiser or any other person has done. See, basically three tenses they are using, all right. Has done or abstained from doing. Done as in it's already done in the past, all right. So I may say that now you give me these goods, tomorrow I will pay you, all right. So in that case, if you are giving me the goods, that means you have already done something, right? So it may be in the past also that I told you, now you give me this packet of milk, I'm going to pay you in half an hour. That is done or abstained from doing. Like in the past, you did something basically with my consent.
Okay, okay. But abstinence means to stop from doing or
Abstain as in, see, I may say, take for example, what is done you understood, right? What is abstain from doing? Maybe you have a shop where you have like beautiful dresses, all right? I liked one of the dresses, but I was not having enough money to buy it. All right. What I told you is that I told you that, okay, take this 50 rupees, keep this with you. I am going to return in 2 hours. That dress was maybe worth 2,000 rupees. All right. I gave you 50 rupees and told you that just keep this money as a surety that I am going to come back within 2 hours with 2,000 rupees and buy this dress from you. All right. In that case, what you have done is that you abstain from doing. What you abstain from doing? You abstain from selling that dress to someone else. Why? Because I agreed that I will be coming and paying you. That is what is abstain from doing. You may do something. You may give me a packet of milk. That, okay, fine, take the milk, come back after 2 hours and make the payment. That's fine. Or you may say that, okay, fine, I'm keeping this dress for you, but you need to come back within 2 hours only. That is abstain from doing. You abstain from selling it to someone else. You did not do something basically. You did not sell it to someone else. Okay, basically it's nothing but three different tenses, all right? This is something in the past, but past as in with my consent you are doing, okay? I'm asking you that you keep this dress, I am coming back in 2 hours, you also kept it. That is abstain from doing. So it is in past, or it may be in the present also. Does or abstains from doing. I may tell you that, okay, fine, take this 30 rupees, give me a packet of milk. At the same time we are doing, right? That is does or abstains from doing. Or promises to do or to abstain from doing. I may make a promise also, right? I may make a promise that tomorrow I will do this, or after 5 days you give me 50 liters of milk, I will be paying you. That also might be like a promise, right? That tomorrow or after 5 days I will be doing. So it can be past, present, and future. All the three tenses might be applicable here.
Okay, yes, yes.
Okay, basically, yeah, nothing but three different tenses, and also it can be doing something also, or it may be abstinence also. All right, both the things will be included here. So that is what consideration is. All right, so such act or abstinence, whether you are doing something or you promise not to do something, both the things, all right, or promise is called consideration for promise. That means whatever promise you are making or whatever promise I'm making, right, for that it is consideration. That means what is consideration? It is what you are getting in return. All right, that is what you will be getting in return. Is this definition clear? Any part if you are not like confused, you can ask, I'll tell you that portion.
No, it's clear now.
Clear, right? Yeah. So it can be both doing or abstinence from doing. So you can give any examples also of abstinence if you are explaining it in your own words, right? That time also you can give examples of this. All right. Next, consideration is a vital element in the law of contract. Consideration is a benefit, right? So consideration is what? It is benefit which must be bargained for between the parties and is essential reason for a party entering into the contract. All right. If you are not getting any benefit, you will simply not be interested, right? So you may say that, okay, fine. Like I will be attending the classes, but I also want you to discuss the question paper, right? So that can also be an example that you are getting some benefit out of attending the classes, and that's the only reason why you are attending. Otherwise you will not attend. All right, it may be bargain between the parties. You may tell that, okay, fine, if some concepts are not clear, you will have to repeat those concepts. That maybe it is like a bargaining, right? You are saying that you will also have to repeat if something is not clear or things like that. So simply just take one random example that is applicable for your normal life also, and try to remember these concepts. All right. So consideration is a vital element in law of contract, and it is the benefit which must be bargained between the parties, and it is the essential reason for party entering into the contract. If you are not getting any benefits, you will simply not enter into the contract. Now, nature of consideration. What is the nature of consideration? So there are basically four things. Must not be in past. Now, just now we read, right, that it can be in past also. So why is it given here then must not be in the past? Just now in the definition we saw, right, it can be past also, present, future, any tense. Any idea why is it given here then?
That the benefit should not be in past.
See here, what is given in the definition is with my consent, right? At my desire, you are giving me this. So whatever you are giving me at my desire, right? That can be in the past also. Like you can say that, okay, fine, take this packet of milk, but give me 30 rupees after 2 hours or after 2 days. That means at my desire you are doing something, right? I wanted a packet of milk, but I was not having money. I said after 2 days I will give. So there is like agreement between both the persons, right? I told you that yes, for milk I am paying you 30 rupees, you give me the packet of milk. So that is at our desire we are doing it, right? With consent we are doing it. Must not be in the past, as in it should not be some past event that was done without my desire. All right, it should not be like that. So I will give you an example. If there was an accident and a person was severely injured and he was just there helplessly in middle of the road, so maybe I'm a stranger, I do not know that person, but I felt like taking him to the hospital just to save his life. All right, I took that person to the hospital, got him admitted and everything. Later on, when the person recovered, what I'm saying is that I'm telling him that, okay, fine, that day I saved your life, so now you give your two-wheeler to me for free. All right, I cannot do that. Why? Because the person did not beg me that, okay, fine, take me to hospital, I'll give you whatever you want or something. He did not say that, right? Without his desire, I took him to hospital. He did not make any kind of promises, right? He did not make any promises that I'll give you this, that, nothing, right? So that is what is considered here, that it must not be in the past. It must not be something which I did in the past without the person's approval, consent, or anything, right? Some favor that I did, that I cannot bring now and say that, okay, fine, this was consideration, now you do this for me. I cannot do like that. It must not be in the past, but it should always be at the desire of the promiser only. Only in that case I can claim for it. Is it clear? Must not be in the past.
Yes, yes.
So basic difference is that here consent or desire is not there, right? Something you did out of your moral obligation, that you cannot now bring as a consideration. But here, even though it was done in past, I only requested you that you give me 1 liter milk packet, tomorrow I'll pay you. So that is at the desire. Must have value in the eyes of law. Whatever you are giving in return, whatever you are getting in return, it should have some value in the eyes of law. What is value in the eyes of law?
Legally, it should be accepted.
It should be legally accepted, and also it should be something that law would recognize. Like the example I gave you regarding your birthday. If a friend refuses to come for dinner, it may be a very big thing for you, but court will not take that thing into notice, right? So it must have value in eyes of law. In eyes of law, that thing would not have any value, that you had to have dinner alone on your birthday, right? So it must have value in the eyes of law. It should be some kind of an important matter that law would take notice of. Must be sufficient and not adequate. What is that?
It must be sufficient up to what the contract has been made.
And not adequate?
And not more than that, or don't know.
See, these things you can just remember one example. Maybe it will be much easier for you to remember. So must be sufficient. It must be sufficient for you to perform the contract, right? You should feel that, okay, fine, it is sufficient, I can do this, I can do whatever I have to do under the contract, but it may not be adequate, right? If you know, like you want 5,000 rupees very urgently, all right, and you are having a two-wheeler. Now that two-wheeler is worth some 30-40,000, all right, but you want that 5,000 rupees anyhow in like few minutes only. What you are doing is you sold your two-wheeler to someone for 5,000 rupees. In that case, because of your two-wheeler you are getting 5,000 rupees, that is not adequate, right? You should have got more. 5,000 rupees is not adequate, right? But it is sufficient for you to make the contract. Why is it sufficient? Because you somehow wanted to like make it happen, right? You somehow wanted to get 5,000 rupees. So it should be sufficient for you so that you are able to enter into the contract, but it may not be adequate. What is not adequate? It may not be the best reasonable price that you should be getting for what you are doing. All right, so it must be sufficient for you to enter into the contract, but it may not be adequate considering how much you should have really got. Is it clear? Sufficient and not adequate?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Similarly, we see, right, sometimes like properties and all are also sold at very less price. Why? Because maybe someone in the family is very sick, they need to pay medical, like hospital bills and all. What they will do, they will have to sell the property at a lesser price. Why? Because they somehow need money. So that particular contract is also sufficient for the family because they anyhow needed money very urgently, but it may not be adequate considering how much they should have got for that particular property. Must move from the promisee to the promiser. It may come from you or someone on your behalf to me. Is it clear? Nature of consideration?
Yes, yes. I'll just read once.
Yeah.
Must move from the promise to the promiser, promisee to the promiser.
Yeah, promisee
Means
or someone. Yeah. Promisee or someone on behalf of promisee to the promiser, like the one we saw, right, in the definition also. It may come from you or someone on your behalf.
okay, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Now, next is what is consideration and what is not consideration. We need to know that. What is consideration? Existing contractual duty. Do you remember this part? Maybe
Yes, yes.
the examples for these two. I think you should remember it.
Yes, yes, I remember.
Yeah, right. So existing contractual duty will not be consideration. If I'm already appointed as a house help, I cannot demand extra money for cooking, cleaning, doing, like cleaning clothes. I cannot demand extra money. Why? Because it is already a part of my existing contractual duty. Similarly, an existing public duty. We always see, right, when you apply for passport and the police officer comes for your verification, they would ask for extra money. So you need not pay extra money to the person. You can simply refuse also. Why? Because he is already getting salary for doing that verification thing. All right. So that is what? That is an existing public duty. That person anyways had to do the verification. So that is an existing public duty.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, next one case was there, right, that we just skipped. So I'll go to that case. Belfer versus Belfer. You remember this case?
Yes. Yes, yes, I remember.
Remember, right? So there's this couple who went to England for a vacation. Then wife fell sick. Husband and doctor advised that you stay here for some time, get the treatment, and then you can return to Sri Lanka. But husband had to return because he was having his work. So he made a promise that I will be sending 30 euros to you per month to meet your expenses, and he left. For some time he was sending also, but later on there were some issues in their relationship. So husband stopped sending that money. Then it went to divorce or separation. At that point of time, wife filed a case saying that he had to make this 30 euros payment. So court said that there was no intention to create legal relationship. There can be many different types of promises or arrangements made between husband and wife, but we cannot say that parties had the intention to legally bind themselves in such cases. All right, so we normally also we get so many examples, right? In a house, if husband and wife has divided the work, that you do the cleaning, I will do the cooking. After divorce or after judicial separation, they cannot just demand that now also you cook for me. Why? Because when they were husband and wife or the relationship was better, that time whatever promises or arrangements they did, those at that point of time they were not having the intention of legally binding themselves under that particular thing, right?
Yes, yes.
So what is not consideration? Existing contractual duty and existing public duty. Then privity of consideration. You remember this case, Chennaiya versus Ramaiya? Mother giving property.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, mother giving property to her daughter, but with a condition that you will have to give an amount of 652 rupees, 53 rupees as annuity to your aunt. Annuity is
Yeah.
annually you need to give
Yes.
much money. So daughter also agreed, property was transferred. But later on, daughter refused to give that amount, saying that aunt was not even a part of the contract. I am not getting any benefit from aunt. Why should I give that amount of money? There is no consideration for me in this case. But court said that no, you cannot simply follow one part of the contract from where you are getting benefit, like accepting the property as a way of gift, and then you cannot just ignore another part where you are having a liability of providing maintenance to your wife. It's one contract where there was one condition, so you need to obey the entire one only. Even though consideration was coming from a third party, you were getting consideration from your mother, it will be a valid consideration. So privity of consideration is allowed in India, but privity of contract is not allowed. Right? If you have
Yes.
a contract with someone else, I cannot simply go and say that parties are violating the contract or something. Right? The contracting parties should have problems. Only they can go to court. Some third party cannot go on their behalf and appear in the court. Yeah, so of contract and consideration, I think you are already clear about it. Now, exceptions to the rule of privity of contract. So this is basically that in general, if I am not a party to the contract, I cannot file a case, but there are certain exceptions like trust, marriage, settlement, and acknowledgement or estoppel. Is this part clear or you want it to be repeated? Exceptions to the rule of privity.
Yes, just roughly.
Okay.
Yeah, just roughly.
Yeah, so privity of contract we know, right? What is privity of contract? Third party cannot file a case. If you sold your two-wheeler for 5,000 rupees and I feel that no, you should have got at least 50,000 rupees for this two-wheeler. If you do not have any problem with that contract, I also should not have a problem. I cannot go to court and say that how come she sold the two-wheeler for 50,000, 5,000 rupees only. She should have got at least 50,000. I cannot do that. Why? Because in India, privity of contract is not allowed. But there are certain exceptions where privity of contract is allowed. That means a third party can also file a case, right? What are these conditions? It is trust. What is trust? There will be trustees who will have to work for benefit of some people who are called as beneficiaries. Now, when this trust is established, it's an agreement in between the trustees, right? So beneficiary was not a part of the contract. But if trustee is violating their obligations or responsibilities, beneficiaries can file a case against the trust that you are not fulfilling your duties or liabilities. That thing can be done. So if there is a trust established for benefit, like a factory, all right, a factory establishes a trust and says that this trust will have the obligation of maintaining and establishing a school for benefit of children of these workers inside the factory, right? So the school will be set up and trustees will have to maintain the school. Now, if after some point trustees stop running the school and they just concentrate on their personal gain, workers can file a case against trustee saying that you were having this obligation of doing things for our benefit, now you are not doing it. All right, so they can file a case against the trustee saying that you should better work for our benefit and you should not concentrate much on your personal gain. So beneficiaries were not a part of the initial contract, but still they can file a case because it was for their benefit only that contract was made. Is it clear? Trust.
Yes, yes.
Marriage settlement. So a simple example you can remember, there were 3 brothers. Property was divided between 3 of them. And then there was one sister also. So they thought that, okay, fine, we are dividing the property amongst us, but we are keeping this small portion of the property for our sister's marriage. All right, we will maybe sell this portion and then get some money, and with that money we will arrange for our sister's marriage. All right, so sister was not a part of this family arrangement. All right, that property will be divided between 3 brothers and all of that. Only 3 brothers were part of that contract. But later on, if they refuse to sell that property for their sister's wedding, sister can file a case saying that they kept this small portion of the land for my marriage. Now they are not doing it. Now they are just trying to use it for their personal gain. So in that case, even though sister was not part of the contracts, she can still file a case against the brothers. All right, next one is
Okay.
acknowledgement or estoppel. Acknowledgement as in accepting something, right? So if you are accepting something today, tomorrow you cannot again go back to some other statement. Whatever you are accepting today, you need to stick to that. That is what is estoppel. If you are acknowledging something, you cannot tomorrow again refuse that. No, I did not say like that. You cannot say. All right, so that is what is estoppel or acknowledgement. If you are staying on rent and you made an agreement with the landlord that I will be paying 20,000 rupees rent per month. But after some point of time, I wanted to move to that same city and I told you that, can I share the apartment with you? You also agreed, okay, fine, you stay with me. I don't have any problem. Now I told you that, okay, fine, because rent is 20,000, I will be paying 10,000 rupees and you pay the remaining 10,000 rupees. All right, I told you like that. But when the time came of paying rent, I said that no, I'm not liable to pay. I'm not paying 10,000 rupees. I cannot say like that. Why? Because yes, initially I was not liable. Initially the contract was between you and the landlord. But because I accepted or I acknowledged that, because I am also living with you, I also should contribute something. I will pay 50% of the rent. Just because I acknowledged at one point of time, later on I cannot again refuse. All right, that is what is acknowledge or estoppel. If I accepted something, I cannot just again try to refuse it at a later moment. Is it clear? Acknowledgement and estoppel and marriage settlement.
Yes, yes.
All right, now there is one, page number 11. 1 second, there is one concept. Okay, there is one concept, right? Nudum pactum in your syllabus, first unit, if you have seen. So what is nudum pactum? It is a Latin maxim which means naked promise or bare promise. All right, what is naked promise or bare promise? That means only promise is there. I just made a promise, but consideration is not there maybe. So in common law, it refers to promise that is not legally enforceable for want of consideration. That means it's just a bare promise or a naked promise, but it do not have consideration with it. All right, it's just a simple promise. An example of nudum pactum would be an offer to sell something without a corresponding offer of value in exchange. That means if I make an offer to you that I will be giving you this mobile phone just like that. All right, I'm not expecting any money or anything. I will simply give my mobile phone to you. That is nudum pactum, or a bare promise or a naked promise. That means I am giving my phone to you, but I am not like there is no consideration for me. All right, there is no consideration for me that I will be getting for performing this contract. So that is what is nudum pactum. That means it's a bare promise without any consideration or without any benefit that I will be getting. I simply made a promise that I'll be giving you my phone, but then I'm not getting anything in return. That is nudum pactum. So will that contract be valid if I simply make such a promise without any consideration for me?
That will be your wish, so it can be valid.
It cannot be valid. See, if there are these exceptions, we will see that. Valid as in, if I want to give the mobile phone, I can give you, but you cannot like legally enforce the contract. All right, it is like an agreement only, right? If I want, I can give you, but you cannot legally enforce it if later on I refuse. All right, so in general, what happens is there has to be a consideration. Without consideration, you cannot enforce the contract. All right, because there was no consideration for me, you cannot enforce that contract in court of law. But yeah, otherwise, if I am willing, it's my wish, I can perform the contract. But simple thing is that you cannot enforce it in law. But there are certain exceptions. Exceptions when agreement without consideration is valid. That means even though consideration is not there for you, the agreement will still be valid. You can enforce it. So these are given under section 25 of Indian Contract Act, and there are 3 exceptions. All right. First one is natural love and affection. So you remember this part? What is natural love and affection? Page number 10. Natural love and affection, exceptions to agreement without consideration.
No, I don't remember it exactly.
Yeah, natural love and affection.
Now I'm fine.
Natural love and affection is what? You're like near and dear ones, all right? Like maybe your mother, father, your like close family members, all right? If take for example, one day, because your mother was very happy, she just made a promise that I will be gifting all my property to you, all right? I'll be transferring all my property to your name for free, all right? As a gift I will be giving. I'm so happy. Can you enforce that contract in court of law or not? Otherwise, you cannot enforce if she is simply just like orally just telling you that I'll be transferring all of my property in your name. You cannot enforce simple that particular promise before court of law. But if she gives that in a proper written document with her sign and everything, in that case, that particular contract will be valid. That means if she is giving all her property to you, she is not getting anything in return, right? There is no consideration for your mom. But if she agrees to it by in a written document, properly signed, seal and everything, you can enforce such a contract also. Why? Because that contract was made out of natural love and affection. And if like in such contracts, right, it will be usually written that I'm giving my property to my daughter with full with full consciousness, without any sort of influence, intoxication, coercion or any other thing. It's a free consent and everything will be written also. So such agreements may be enforceable even though your mother is not getting any consideration in return. So first one is natural love and affection. All right. Second one is voluntary service. If you are doing something voluntarily and not expecting any money in return of it, other person is not liable. But the moment the other person says that, oh, I'm so impressed with your hard work that I'll be paying you 10,000 rupees. If the person says like that, he or she will have to pay for voluntary service also. Right? Maybe you are doing internship somewhere and you know that that internship is not having any stipend, you will not be getting any money. But if you go there and the organization was so impressed with your hard work that they just said that we are very impressed, we will be paying you 10,000 rupees for your hard work. In that case, they will have to pay it. Later on, they cannot simply refuse that, no, it was like a voluntary internship, we are not paying or something like that. And last one is time barred debt.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am. When he was explaining voluntarily services, the voice was breaking.
Okay. So voluntary service, what is voluntary service? Voluntarily you are going, right? What is volunteer? You are not expecting anything in return. Voluntarily you went there. Maybe you are doing some internship and you know that this internship is not having stipend, all right? You will not be getting any money for your service, whatever work you are doing. So you voluntarily provided that service without expecting any money in return. But the organization was so happy with your work that they just made a promise that, okay, fine, we will be paying 10,000 rupees to you because we are so impressed with your hard work. In that case, what happens? Even though it was a voluntary service, even though you were not expecting money initially, just because they promised to pay 10,000 rupees, they will have to pay it. So for voluntary services also, they may have to pay money. Why? Simply because they made a promise. Is it clear?
Yes.
And last one is time barred debt. What is debt? Maybe I took some amount of money with a promise that I will be returning that. But I did not return the money. All right. You had 3 years of limitation period to go to court and file a case against me. But you failed to file a case within this 3 years time frame. Now the debt becomes a time barred debt. That means you do not have time now to go to court, file a case against me. In that case, legally I am not bound to return that amount of money. But if I go to you and tell you that, okay, fine, I took this loan, so now I will be paying the amount to you. So in that case, I will have to pay for time barred debt. Otherwise, legally, I am not bound to return that amount because time period is already over. But if I voluntarily go to you and make a promise that I will be paying the money, I will again become liable. I will have to pay the money. Is it clear?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, so that was all for consideration. Any other doubts that you have for that part?
No doubts for consideration.
Okay. So consideration is what you are getting in return, right? Simply you will not go on performing some promises or contracts. You also should get some benefit. That is what is consideration. All right. Now there is a topic called tender, right? So what is tender? Tender is what we often call as invitation to trade or bid. Now, what is the difference between contract and invitation to, like, offer and invitation to offer? Difference between offer and invitation to offer?
Offer is made to specifically one person, and invitation to no. Offer invitation and invitation to offer is like when we do it publicly.
Invitation to offer is when we do it. So offer is what? I am ready to perform it. I'm just waiting for your approval, right? If you give your acceptance, there is readiness to perform it, right? In case of offer. So offer is when I'm all ready, I'm just waiting for your approval. What is invitation to offer? I want you to come to me, give me offer, and then I will decide whether I want to accept it or not. All right. So tender is what? Tender is also one type of invitation to offer or invitation to trade or invitation to bid only. All right. So what is tender? Have you seen tenders? Have you seen tenders somewhere? Hello? Am I audible? Hello? Kranti, am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, yes. Invitation to offer.
Yeah, I was asking you, have you seen any tenders?
Yes, yes. For government issues sometimes kind of tender for
Hmm.
road construction, bridges construction.
Yeah, so for construction and all, government often issues tender, right? In many different universities, colleges, many different bodies also may issue tender. So what is tender? Tender is what we call as invitation to trade. That means if government is constructing a flyover, maybe they will issue tenders asking for quotation for supply of bricks, supply of cement, supply of some, like nails, then other items, right? Basically, so it is invitation to trade. That means government is inviting other people to trade with them or to submit their bids, right? It is an invitation to trade or invitation to bid. A tender is an offer in writing to contractors to execute some specific work. So there will be different contractors doing different things. If government wants a specific thing to be done, or even private companies and all also issue tenders, right? So any organization, if they want a certain thing to be done, what they will do is that they will make an offer in writing that we call as tender to all the prospective contractors who may be interested in that work to execute some specific work or to supply specified materials within a fixed time frame as per conditions of contract and agreement between the contractor and owner or department or the party, right? So there is one thing that I can show you. So there may be one organization or a body who will issue that particular tender. So you can, for that matter, right, you can just look for any website of any college, university, you will see tenders. So I'll show you one tender. So, for example, this is a law university that is issuing, say, notice inviting tender from experienced firm or agencies for providing housekeeping service. All right, so this also is an example of a tender. What they are doing is that rather than rather than issuing rather than making an offer to any particular agency who is providing for housekeeping service, they have published this tender. So you can click here for more details with regard to that, where everything will be mentioned, what you need to do, time frame, how you need to do, right? All the things might be there. So notice inviting tender for housekeeping service. So they will also mention last date, right? Within this particular date, you need to submit your bids, right? After that, this tender will be considered as closed. What all things you need to do? You need to mention that for this much quantity, what will be the price, when you can provide, how you can do. You need to provide your documents also. Maybe we are working for 5 years, we have these good records, whatsoever it may be, right? All of those details you need to provide in that particular tender. So what is tender? It is basically an offer in writing, right? This university is making an invitation to offer in writing to contractors or agencies who may be interested to execute some specified work. What is the work? Supplying housekeeping stuff or to supply some specified materials within a time frame. They have mentioned the date also. Within this date, you need to supply it as per conditions of the contract or agreement between contractor and the owner of or the department of the party, right? So there will be certain other conditions may also be there, and based on that they would basically decide all of the things. The tender document contains bill of quantities. Bill of quantities as in if you are supplying 5 housekeeping staff, what will be the price, right? For each housekeeping staff, how much will you charge? Specifications of the work to be carried out. What is the work? Maybe they need to supply trained housekeeping staff for that particular university. That would be specifications. Time frame for completion of the work. So they may mention that before 27th of March, you need to supply. Conditions of the contract and plans and drawings, etc. They may say that it is a 3-year contract. For 3 years, you need to keep supplying housekeeping staff if there is any need. All right. So all of those things will be mentioned in the tender itself. These documents are provided to the contractor on the payment of certain fees. The contractor who quotes the lowest rate for the overall work are usually offered the contract to execute the work. So whoever are interested in that particular tender, they will submit their bids, right? They will mention the price, how they are best in the industry, these, that, everything will be mentioned, and the department or the other party would finally decide to whom they want to give this particular work, right? It may be depending on lowest rate that is quoted by a person, or it may be depending on the quality of service that they are providing, that finally a decision will be made. Is this part clear? Tender.
Yes, yes.
Now, differences between contract and tender, it's clear only, right? That the term tender formally means an invitation to trade under the terms of offer, right? It is just inviting that we want you to supply housekeeping staff, 5 numbers of housekeeping staff within 27th of March. You tell me how much would you charge. But in case of contract, what happens? It is term used when two parties have reached agreement, right? When we have already decided, okay, fine, this is the amount I will be charging, and this is when I will be supplying housekeeping staff, this, that will be contract. So contract is when everything is finalized. Tender is just an invitation to offer. Tender is an invitation to bid and not enforceable by law, right? They are issuing this tender, they can even cancel it. They can even say that, oh, now we don't need housekeeping staff, so this tender has been cancelled. Those kind of things also may happen, but in case of contract, it is legally enforceable, right? I cannot make a contract with you today and after 5 days be like, I'm not feeling like performing this contract. I cannot say like that. A invites tenders from interested people mentioning the price that they will charge for supply of 500 kg of rice within 1 month. So A is inviting tenders from interested people and saying that I need 500 kgs of rice within 1 month. So tell me the price, lowest price at what you can supply me 500 kgs of rice. But in case of contract, A makes a promise to supply 500 kgs of rice to be within 1 month, and also amount will be mentioned. Is it clear differences?
Yes.
Tender is just like an application where you project your prices, quotation for the particular project. If everything goes well during the tender, then there are more chance of getting into the contract, right? If everything goes well, if your prices and everything is fine for the other party, it may finally go to the stage of entering into a contract. Contract is legally binding and is enforceable at the court of law. Contract refers to the agreements which are made between the parties with the mutual understanding by agreeing the terms and conditions. So contract is legally enforceable, but in case of tender, it's the very initial stage only. Is that part clear?
Yes.
Anything you want to be repeated?
No, I just want to go through once.
Okay. This part or
Mm-hmm.
this para?
That's it.
Okay.
Yes, done.
Okay, next question was also that you wanted to explain, right? So
Hmm.
in a contract, we need free consent of parties. That is also a condition for a valid contract. So one of the ways how we can say that consent was not free is by way of coercion. If consent is obtained by way of coercion, we will say that it was not obtained freely. It was not, consent was not given freely. So section 15 of Indian Contract Act mentions what is coercion, and section 14 defines what is free consent. So section 15 says, according to section 15, coercion is the committing or threatening to commit any act forbidden by Indian Penal Code, or the unlawful detaining or threatening to detain any person to the prejudice of any person, whatever, with the intention of causing any person to enter into an agreement. So what is coercion? It may be I did something which is forbidden by IPC, or I am threatening you to do something which is forbidden by IPC. All right, it can be either of the two things. Or it may be unlawfully, I'm trying to detain a person, or I'm threatening you that I will detain you. All right, all of those things would come under coercion. And if by doing any of these things, I am obtaining your consent, in that case, what happens is your consent is not free. It was obtained by way of coercion, hence, it's not a free consent under section 14 of the Indian Contract Act. Techniques of causing coercion. Coercion is said to be caused when consent is obtained by pressure exerted by either of the following ways: committing or a threat to commit any act which is forbidden by law, or unlawfully detaining a person or threatening to detain any person or a property. All right, so all of these are the two ways by which uh, a person's consent may be obtained by way of coercion. You want to read this part?
Hello?
Yeah, audible, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I read.
Yeah. So the definition makes it clear that commission or threatening to commit any act must be forbidden or prohibited by IPC. IPC is just an explanation. IPC is a substantive law defining and prescribing punishment for criminal offenses in the territory of India. So something is forbidden under IPC, and a person is trying to do something that is forbidden or prohibited by IPC. Unlawful detaining of property. Section 15 also states that coercion can also be caused by unlawful detaining or a threat to detain any property to the prejudice of any person, whatever, with the intention of causing that person to enter into the contract, basically to force him to give his consent. For example, it is coercion when an agent who is due to leaves refuse to hand over the account books to the new entrant until the principal executes release in his favor. The detention of property must be unlawful in nature. So it may be that I am keeping someone's property, all right, someone's property, some goods or items illegally, right? Without that person's approval or without having any valid reasons, I'm trying to detain property and thereby make the person consent for something or agree on something, those also would come under this. Unlawfully, I'm trying to detain property of a person. Maybe I can say that you sign on this piece of paper or you sign on this particular contract, otherwise I'm not going to give you this pen drive that is having some valuable information with regard to your company. I'm not going to give you this pen drive unless and until you put your signature in this particular contract. So that also will be coercion, that I'm saying that
Hello.
yeah, you again got disconnected, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Which part? This one, is it?
Yes.
Okay. So unlawfully detaining property, I may tell you that you sign on this contract, and if you do not sign on this contract, right, I'm not going to give you this pen drive. All right, your pen drive is having some valuable information regarding your company or something, and I'm telling you that I'm not hand over this pen drive until you sign on this contract. So that also is like a coercion only, right? I'm detaining your property and I'm saying that you sign on this contract, otherwise I'm not going to give you the pen drive. All right, so in that case also your consent was not free. Why? Because you did not wanted to enter into that particular contract. This section also states that the act causing coercion should not necessarily be against a party to the contract. If the act is to prejudice any other person, whatever, or with the intention to causing that person enter into the contract, it is enough of coercion. Maybe it may not be against you. Maybe I'm saying that I'm not giving this pen drive of your sister or your friend. In that case also, you may be bound to give your signature on that contract. All right, I may be detaining your property or someone else's property. Coercion may be against you or someone else also in whom you may be interested, and so you are putting your signature and agreeing to that particular contract. So there was one case where the widow was forced to adopt a child by relatives of the adopted boy. If she did not do so, the relatives did not allow the dead body of the widow's husband to be taken out of home until the adoption was made. This also amounts to coercion. So for adoption also, you need to sign on that adoption paper and everything, right? So she was not willing to adopt the child, but she was forced to adopt that particular child by forcing that if you do not sign on this adoption paper, we are not going to allow you to take this dead body of your husband outside the house. All right, so that is by way of coercion only that her signature was taken in that particular adoption paper. So she can later on say that it was not with my free consent that I put my signature in this adoption paper. So she can again refuse on. So is this part clear?
Yes.
And one more thing is there. So simple burden of proof. What is burden of proof?
Burden of proof is where the person needs to prove that he is accused.
Yeah, so if I'm complaining about something, the other person will have to prove it, right? If I'm complaining about something,
Yes.
you have to prove that the person is actually guilty. So burden of proof lies on the party taking the defense of coercion. In case of coercion, if I'm saying that my consent was not free, I will have to prove that. All right, because I'm taking this defense, right? I will have to prove it. So the onus of proof on him is heavier. I will have to prove that my consent was not free. It was obtained by way of coercion by the other person. It is so as mere probability or suspicion does not amount to coercion. To establish coercion, a person must prove that there was a threat which was forbidden by law and that compelled him to do compel him to get into this contract, otherwise he would not have agreed to this particular contract. So if I'm saying that my consent was obtained by way of coercion, I will have to prove that there actually was force or a threat that was used against me, and I did not agree to it with my free consent or with my free will or something like that. Is that part clear? Cases on contract.
Yes.
Right, so that was what you sent, right, with regard to contract. And then we discussed all these cases. Do you want to revise these cases?
No. I remember this case.
Okay. So this cases, right, this document is only having the cases that we discussed. So I can share this also. You can just go through it one more time, maybe. And
Yes.
with regard to the horse that was sent. So you can go through the cases also maybe, and regarding what this case is, that thing is also mentioned here. Take for example, here you will see it is with regard to general offer, right? So accordingly you can see this also. All right. So then when would you want a next class for IPC? Any study leaves in between or somewhere?
Yes. I'll see how I'm going to study, and then accordingly I'll message you.
Yeah. You can tell me so that we can plan it accordingly. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Then so tomorrow, what about tomorrow? I think after that only you have exam, right? 26th.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe tomorrow you can study yourself only for constitution, and then you can let me know in between whenever you are. We will do the IPC part, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then all the best for your exam. Write well for
Thank
constitution.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. Then you let me know. Okay. We are ending this meeting here.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Yeah.